All right. We're back. It is June 19th, Juneteenth, 2026. Wonderful weather outside, halfway through the year. We are banging. We have guests today, Felix and Kevin.
And we have
Welcome.
Dan.
And Dan's here. Hi, Dan.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Sorry, guys,
Oh,
getting
boy.
myself situated here. Good afternoon.
Taking me years to get situated, and it doesn't happen. What's going on this week? Art, got it. I do. I actually have a couple things. What do you got, Art?
I've got something unique that was posted today.
I must hear about it.
On my Print for Pay Hotel website. Longtime salesperson for copiers wants to know if anyone heard or started to hear warning about price increases in the copier printer industry due to global shortage of memory chips caused by overwhelming demand from AI and data centers. He goes on to say both Apple and Xerox have announced price increases. Then he had some stuff in here, I guess, from AI. The ongoing memory chip and semiconductor crisis is significantly driving up the cost of copiers and multifunctional printers. Major manufacturers have warned of substantial price hikes. That's the first I've heard of that.
Now, that's not true. 2 months ago, we had a whole conversation about this. I brought this up. Do you remember that?
I don't remember any of it.
I don't remember any of it at all.
But I believe you.
Kevin and I were having a conversation about the data centers, and I said, what will be the ramification? The prices won't go up for the chips. They'll just become obsoleted.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be. That was the whole gist of the conversation is we don't need to worry about it increasing. They're just going to make it non-available. So, yeah, where's Kevin at? Go dig him out of wherever he's at. I need to.
Yeah. Well, if they make them non-available, what are they going to use for memory and copiers?
Okay, let's do. Who's the lowest economics of this entire train? We're below phones, right? Data centers are definitely higher than phones.
Yes.
And look at all the medical equipment in between phones and data centers. Okay, so where does copiers fall in the endpoint of that requirement? Pretty low on the scale, right?
Yeah, probably just a hair above fax machines.
Yeah, right. You're probably about it. And that was the point that was actually the point that Kevin came back with was they wouldn't even really go up. It would just become unavailable, unobtainiable.
Yeah, as opposed to the pricing going up, supply goes down, so scarcity will increase the price.
Yeah, because you won't be able to get it.
Yeah, because you won't be able to get it.
Right.
Yeah, there's an article out that says that Apple customers are going to soon face higher prices because memory chips are going through the roof from a cost perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like we're all going to get hit.
Yeah.
That's what we all needed, right?
Bound to hit. Bound to happen. Bound to happen. Evolution is painful.
Right. So let's see. Interesting press releases from this week. I don't think there's going to be that many of them. Here's another one from the same member about Windows Ready Print starting July 2026.
Yeah.
And didn't we just talk about that?
We spoke about it last week, and it says here WRP is not simply rebranding Windows WPP, which is Windows Protected Print Mode, although they're built on the same underlying print structure. So how is that going to affect end users?
Well, it's going to be a big plus for Lexmark. It's going to be a big plus for Brother, and it's going to be a hard hit for everybody else because all these people that bought finishers and all these things that the machines can do, that's not going to be
correct.
That's not going to be in that driver. Okay. So, and it's going to change workflows because for the people that are actually still printing and distributing and that require that kind of stuff, they're either going to put them on a subset on the network on their own VLAN or on their own, not VLAN, but on their own LAN, if you will, in a different subset so that they can use a non-compliant driver, which would be the factory driver, the native driver, or they're going to have to change the way they do business.
Or it won't have any impact at all because no one prints anyway.
Well, that's a true point.
I'm always reminded of when the Apple iOS or I think it was iOS first came out, everyone was, not everyone, but people, there's no print icon, remember? But there was a waste basket icon.
Right.
Kind of symbolic. We'll see. I mean, Microsoft is a lot of things. Yeah, they're stupid. Who knows what this means? Really? What's the play for Microsoft?
The problem is the exploitations. The exploitations are so high that Microsoft can't manage the
Right.
exploitations. And the driver is where they're coming in at.
Okay.
Okay. So so you have two issues. I can send you a PDF right now. You can print it, and I'll embed a worm on your firmware of your printer, and
Okay.
it'll data mine your network forever, and your IT people will never find it
Never
because they
know.
don't screen the endpoint, the printer. Okay. So
Right.
that's a problem,
That makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so they can cut the exploitation by having the actual driver and not having to carve out a place in their OS for that driver to reside.
Right.
So basically you're going to get rid of print servers, right?
Yeah. Well, I was involved with the company, what, 10 years ago? That's what would get rid of print servers. That was the whole deal.
So
But this one, now I'm glad you explained that to me. That makes sense. So Microsoft is plugging a hole in their shitty operating.
yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
how about the likes of all the cloud print services?
In trouble.
Yeah.
They're going
Really
to be, oh yeah. Yeah, they'll absolutely be in trouble because
interesting.
because you're not, it's not going to come through the OS. I mean, that's just how it's going to be, you know? I mean, and okay, now let's dive into this for a minute. And I'm not a big fan of Microsoft, but I applaud them for doing this. And here's why. They're looking at this saying, okay, nobody in the world understands the problem yet. The problem is that we have a security problem that requires consequences, money, liabilities, all of the above, right? Bring that into the mainstream of computing. Now Microsoft says we own the OS, so who's going to be whose attorneys are going to be getting knocked on every time there's an exploitation done? It's going to be they're going to claim it's going to be coming through the Windows side, right? So Microsoft is protecting themselves. Just like right now, I think we talked last time about the idea of AWS. You remember that conversation?
I remember talking about AWS, but anyway, go on.
Yeah. So AWS is saying, wait a minute, we're having all these subscriptions come in to run on these secure cloud, but the number of amount of revenue coming in is not equaling anywhere close to the amount of liability that we're amassing on the backside of this. This is like a casino. Somebody's going to get the lotto with a judge, and it's going to have big effects on what this industry does. I'm just saying, you know,
So
I'm the guy that keeps
Kevin,
running around talking about security, but I'm just telling you, it's coming.
so how are your clients either have dealt with this or going to avoid it?
Well, they're not going to be able to avoid it. I'll give you an example. I'm going to a global company on Tuesday. I have a manufacturer coming in, and we did the pre-meeting yesterday, and none of them spoke when I got done with going over this. They were literally out of their element of they had no idea. They thought we were going to talk about something quirky about a firmware thing. When I went through the whole mechanics of what we were going into, they were like, wow, I know what I'm going to be doing all weekend. And they're the engineers because everybody's sleeping on this whole. I tell everybody it's simple. Remember when there was no OSHA? And then when OSHA came in, nobody thought anything about it. And then a year later, everybody was getting sued for it and shut down for it. And suddenly it was a big deal. We're doing the exact same thing again with security that we did with, and it's the same exact thing. It's compliancy. It's if you don't comply, you're not going to be able to do it.
So Kevin, how does Morpia fit into this?
How what?
I think it's pronounced
Mapia.
Morpia.
Mapia. Was you're talking
Yeah,
about the organization, the association,
Morpia.
Art?
yeah, Morphia. What do you want
Is
to
it,
know? I
oh,
mean,
I'm sorry. What is
Are
more?
you,
Yeah, how do they fit in?
are
well,
you
actually,
talking? Are you talking about Mopria?
Mopria. Yeah, that's what
Mopria.
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm talking
okay,
about
that's what
Mopria.
I thought. Yep.
Okay.
I think what you're describing, though, just in general, the vulnerabilities of the endpoints, like with the printer, scanner, copier, etc. Right?
Yeah, they're changing it. It's basically it's migrating from a node to an endpoint, and with it, they're realizing the liabilities associated to that device. You know, like I've talked to several of these cyber people and CISOs and everything. And they're saying, hey, we have things clear on the other side of the planet, and we don't know anything about the behavior of those people operating them. So how can we possibly screw down this device to a point where we don't have to worry about it doing something that's wrong? I mean, think about something as simple as this, Dan. You have a new employee, and usually this stuff goes to the lowest denominator, right? And their job is to scan some documents, and they're using email to scan these documents. And they don't even know Dan's name, they find a Dan in the registry, and this looks like the right Dan, right? I realize I'm making up a scenario that's going to illustrate my point. And then they send these documents off to this person, and it's not the right Dan. You know what I mean? Now,
Yep.
who in the world who in the chain of liability, who's responsible for that? The person that's the mail clerk? They don't know. You know, there's no way that now that this is an endpoint, that these people that are responsible for the organization that are supposed to be the watchdog of, the whole thing are going to be able to support that. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to make the end user, they're going to neuter them.
Well, with some tools perhaps to help them, what we've been talking about really for the past year with a number of folks we work with is trying to establish, and the term that we landed on was a trust triangle to try and help establish trust on, say, like an invoice coming in. Is that number one, does that meet, do I do business with this vendor today? Do they exist in my database? Number two, does that look like a correct invoice? Like number of different things. And then the other component that, we've been pretty active with is the biometric identity access management component. So in that particular case, even if I found a Dan, then perhaps putting some biometric components so that when I go to send, maybe I have it ping that person's phone like we're used to with multi-factor authentication, but it has to be in a certain place and it has to be you in order to send that, and you can only receive it for 2 hours, or any kind of lockdown that you want to do. So yeah, there's a lot to be done in the security side.
Okay, so everything you just named won't even be acceptable. Go into NIST 800-171 and read those
Okay.
compliances. It's huge. I mean, and you go into with where they're at. I remember when Common Criteria came out, we all thought that was going to be the beginning and end all of it. Isn't even it's not even a dot on the butt of the whole thing anymore. It's so small, and the problem with it now is that we're looking at literally. I work in the government space, so we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about CMMC compliancy, where there's nobody supposed to be even in the facility to answer the questions you just said. They believe in zero trust. Okay, everything that we're looking at starts at the framework of there's no
Zero
triangle,
trust.
it's zero
Right.
trust.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. We hardened everything to the point where it reaches zero trust. In other words, you or I or even an IT person can't change the dynamic of that classification. Do you
And
follow?
that's kind of the way that I've been framing most of how we need to approach our transactions is let's start here that I don't trust who you are. I don't trust what you're saying. I don't trust the number you're calling me from. I don't trust anything at all about what you're doing. Let's start there and then we can work our way up from there. That's how I think of zero trust.
And you want to know something? You're right. That's exactly right. That's exactly where this whole thing is at right now.
And then you bring quantum into the mix of that, and then it's a whole other ball game of
Right.
what that's going to bring into the next little bit. So,
Well, I was just talking to these guys on another meeting. Actually, what we're doing is we're actually running diodes so there's only one-way networks.
Yeah, we
It's
talked
not,
about
but
that. Yeah,
yeah,
the
I
diode
mean,
conversation.
yeah, I mean that I probably tipped my hand. Probably shouldn't have brought that up, but I wanted you guys to understand that the levels of where this is going right now are way beyond, And here's the funny thing is that our industry is the one that's going to be dinged by this.
Yeah,
Okay, you got a copier rep going out there trying to sell them on phone home services like, we can monitor your toner. Dude, you just bankrupted my little company. Because you know who they're going to stomp on first when they find out they had an exploitation? It's not going to be IBM. It's not going to be Microsoft. It's going to be the guy that has his name on the side of the copier. Okay, and even if you're found to be innocent, you're broke because the ante to get into that legal defense is going to be way more than a company can afford. I mean, am I wrong? Tell me.
so if now we're kind of expanding here to bring it, no, you're not wrong, but to bring it back, because this is happening, is there going to be a Canon copier out there that doesn't duplex when I send a print job? Will I not be able to get hole punch? Will I not be able to get whatever the machine is capable of because now I have to go through this other way? Is that what we're talking about?
Okay,
From
so
the end user standpoint.
You know
Right.
that I'm right. You know that I'm working with the manufacturers on this stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. So here's the deal. The problem is the bilateral communication.
Okay.
If they would make the devices not be multifunctional, you can still have scan, you can still have fax, you can still have print, but not multifunctional.
Well, okay. Define multifunctional. Down.
Well, you can be printing and I can be scanning at the same time. That's bilateral communication.
Oh, okay.
All
So
right.
you can't do that at the same time. Is that what you're saying? Is more secure? So I
Right.
can't have an end user scanning and me sending print jobs. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, um, um,
It,
okay.
so
Okay. Let me get, so here, so let's put it this way. So what needs to happen is we're headed to an industry where we're going to have what's called device accountability. The device accountability, not a person. This is zero trust again, Dan. We're back to that whole world again, right? Okay, so let's start with, instead of saying where is the data stored, who can access it, which is what we all have for talk tracks as far as thinking that we're actually doing something in security. Mm-mm. Let's talk about the device accountability. What data does the device create, store, process, or transmit? Who accessed the data? What actions were taken? Where did the data go? How long was it retained, rested, and in transit? So we never lose the chain of custody of that information. And who is accountable for the device and its information lifecycle of said process? So when you have multifunctional going on, you can't possibly monitor an IT person. All they can see is that the node is pinging and it's doing something, right? That's it. So here's an example. So you've heard of the three-letter FBI, right? So I get called in. Anyway, where I was doesn't matter, but I was in a meeting, and a very important guy in this whole picture of this conversation comes up to me and says, "Hey, Kevin, can we talk to you over here on the side? We have a couple questions for you." Sure. Now understand, I have a badge to go into this place. I'm not just somebody. I know these people, right? So he says, we want to take you down to an interview room and have a conversation with you. Well, I've been around for a long time in this world, right? So I'm like, yeah, that's never good. And my first thing out of my mouth was, do I need an attorney? I'm not going to talk to the FBI without an attorney. Would you? No. And they're like,
Yeah.
no. They're looking at me like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, you're taking me down to an interview room where it's going to be recorded with cam. I've been in them rooms, not as the. Now you're asking me to sit on the other side of the table, right? And they're like, no, just come with us. I'm like, all right. So we go down there, go into the room, and they said, here's the first thing they said to me: if you were going to steal information from us, how would you do it? I literally looked at this guy that I've known for literally 20 some years, and I said, do you want me to jump off the edge too after I put the rope around my neck? Who in the world would answer that question, right? And he's just looking at me like I'm just like an idiot. And I go, I won't say his name. I said, I'm not answering that question. He goes, no. He goes, you're misunderstanding. We have information leaving our facility, our location. Our IT people can't find it. Okay, we've done everything we know to do to find this leak, and it's going to the New York Post. Okay, and we don't know how that's happening. And I said, oh, simple. I'd fax it. Literally. I said, I'd put a camera up there and wait for it, and you're going to find him. They looked at me like I was a fool. They're like, seriously. I said, yeah, always go to the least denominator, right? Because that's the least amount of attention. It's not accountable. You can't say how many pages were sent to said number, and you don't know who did it. Sure enough, next night they got the person and they got the leak stopped. It was about a very, very high profile case. And but I'm like looking at them going, you're the FBI. You don't know this? So that goes back to what Dan just said. That eliminates the behavior part. They have all the right brains in the world that go after criminal minds, and amongst their own organization, they couldn't even figure out how the data was leaking out of the building, right? So that's why there's zero trust.
So Greg, that's interesting. Did you see the part about the PSAs
I
from the
did.
Microsoft store?
Yeah.
So what that means to me is if you want to be able to staple, three-hole punch, fold, all these additional features, they're all all the manufacturers are gonna have to provide PSAs and put them on the Microsoft store.
What's the
It's
PSA
the way I
stand for again?
I just had it up.
Personal Systems Application.
Uh,
So
print support app.
Okay. So this thing goes into effect in July. The next day, I'm an end user and I try and send a staple and it doesn't work. It comes out regular without staples or whatever. I need to go to the Microsoft store, find my Canon, and grab the PSA, install the PSA, and then in theory, I should be able to staple or do whatever, send a different trays and get the full capabilities of
That's
that
what I'm.
machine. Is that the
That's
theory?
that.
Providing the network,
as long as the PSA is available.
Right.
or the network person allows it to be installed.
That's
Yeah, well,
correct.
there's
You're
that too,
absolutely
yeah.
correct, Kevin. Yep.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this,
That's the
Kevin.
key. And Greg, that's excuse me, that
That's
the same parallel with Twain and what we're doing on the scanning side of that, Kevin has drawn that parallel, Kevin Neal on the print side, that it's going to happen as soon as they turn that switch, and somebody goes to click that button and it comes up, because essentially it's looking for that driver now. And it's not going to be there. It's not going to be allowed to that point. Even if you can install it, maybe the network guys don't allow you to install it.
right.
So it's probably going to cause some havoc. And the same as we've seen on the scanner side, trying to get the dedicated document scanners to move away from the USB attached scanner and with a dedicated driver for a Windows machine.
It'll be if this has any effect on behavior. If it really does say, I got to go through all this stuff, I'm just not going to print it in the first place. I'll just send it.
I'm going to share this.
Yeah. I mean, why
All
get
this
paper?
is how I wonder how prepared the general clientele is for
What do
this.
you guys think? I
I mean,
mean,
this is
not new. It's like what, 2 years they announced it? I mean, they announced it a lot. I think
18
when
months ago, yeah.
Yeah, but Mapria came out years ago, and I remember I'm not paying attention to those guys, but I think they said something about security back then. They might have seen this coming.
Do you know how
And-
many
and
times it's
there-
been revised on the word security?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
there, and there it is. Rico natively supports ecosystem through its Rico PSA.
Rico
available in
PSA
the
is there.
Microsoft.
Well,
So
at ECS, who was it? Sharp said they've got
No.
their thingamajigger or something.
you got the wrong driver. That's just their IPP. That's their color.
Oh,
That's
well,
not
yeah, I asked about stapling and three-hole punch and stuff like that. So
right.
it's
But isn't their IPP just talking about their Adobe?
with the modern IPP, isn't that
What about
Microsoft?
the WPP, the window print policy? You're talking about if you want to see it, just go on your device you're on right now and just go into your it's quietly hiding in your computer right now.
Right. That's referring to the IPP framework, the print, the open framework that, and again, Kevin is working on some components there with regards to Twain and open standards and print standards that overlap actually on the scanner side, as does Mopria, surprisingly, as the
right.
development work that I do as I'm scanning, say for instance, with an Epson scanner. I am communicating via Mopria, which is called ESCL, whether I'm printing or scanning. So I'm using my device, calling it whether I want to print to my Epson scanner or scan for my Epson scanner, vice versa. It's using the same protocol, which is the Mopria ESCL.
Kidding. Wow.
That's enough acronyms and terminology and propeller head speak.
So
Well,
I wonder if they'll go after all of those as well. How will that work?
Are they nodes, endpoints? Probably.
Well, that scanner would be an endpoint. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything becomes, it has an IP address. It's accessible
Right.
on the network. So yeah.
Has there ever been a documented occurrence of something bad happening because of the hole that they haven't plugged with this?
Oh
Have you
yeah.
ever? Okay. I'm
Thousands of them.
well, like what has been the damage? Not the potential damage, but did someone get away with something?
Yeah, exploitation. There's cases right now where there's literally a major university that's going to be looking at in the B number for
Okay.
damages.
And
They're literally talking 60 years to pay it back.
okay, so I mean, I don't know how much it's public. So what are the details? Like something got through because they had this thingamajigger with the print driver wasn't filled, and they were able to get in and do what you just said, monitor what's going on, and send out.
Okay, I'm going to give you like my personal take on everything that I've had to listen to.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean it's right. It just means what I'm thinking. So I was a C student, so throw that in there. So this is the
We know,
wild,
we know.
this is the wild, wild west. So if you do a slip and fall on a sidewalk, you pretty much the attorneys know,
Yeah.
and the courts know how much you're going to get paid, right? You're going to get 18 grand for an elbow. You're going to get 6 grand for whatever. I don't know. I'm just making
Well,
those
it's
numbers up.
like them firms suing people because they don't have a ramp for people in a wheelchair, or the bathroom isn't correctly set handicap standards, right? So
And
pretty
those are all
easy.
things that most people can follow along with, right? Oh, Kevin fell and whatever.
Right. Okay.
But now this, to me, this is the wild, wild west because you're talking about you're going to have cases go in where they're not. It's the information is IP, intellectual property, and they can't discuss it because they're bound by contract to not disclose the IP, which is the case that they're in there for. So I'm trying to figure out how they're even going to do this. Okay, let me give you an example.
Yeah. How they can...
Okay, so your Hershey chocolate, you make the Hershey bar. You have the recipe for their chocolate. How much would it be worth to the world to know that recipe? And what would the damages be to Hershey's chocolate to lose that recipe? That,
Billions.
yeah, your look is exactly what I'm thinking. I don't know. Their whole entire industry is gone. Their ecosystem is gone. You agree? Because now everybody will have it. So whatever intellectual property or edge they had, they no longer have. And what's being stolen is the intellectual beginning of a property. Do you follow me? So I don't know what the number would be for this. Now, here's where everybody's going to do it. It's who has the most money in this? Well, Amazon has a lot of money. Microsoft has a lot of money. All these other companies that are in the middle of all of this, they all have a lot of money, but their monthly subscription to buy 365 isn't going to cover the amount of money that they could lose if they lost a case, to say against something with Hershey. And if they could find it to be an exploitation of a driver, I'm just making this up, then who's going to be on the hook for that exploitation, right? It's like remember when Gmail came out? Everybody that was cheating on their spouses and everything that were getting sued was bombarding Gmail, wanting all the records from Gmail for these people's interactions about what they said because they were going to use it in court. And Gmail said we would literally be broke if we followed every one of those court requests. Well, now you've got a case where we think that every one of these printers caused this problem through exploitation, right? Now what do we do?
Well, I mean, that's what my question was. That there's obviously a precedent where these exploitations have cost people money.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
And what they're trying to get down to now is, can we demonstrate chain of custody?
Yeah. Well, okay, but it's not a chain of custody issue. It's they're blocking anyone from do have a chain.
Another component, guys, that we've talked about even in the past year is another standard that I know I've spoken to you about it called C2PA, which the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, for establishing at the very least a nutrition label on that piece of content, perhaps at the point where it's scanned on a scanner or a copier, that says this was captured on this date at this time by this person or this AI, whatever it is. It doesn't change that something could alter it at some point down the road, but at that point it would have a C2PA stamp and then have a chain of custody, perhaps that follows that through discovery on to case. So
nasty
perhaps relevant, perhaps a selling point for somebody to sell a legal type of offering that doesn't have that.
Well, my personal 90% of IP is dead anyway.
Right.
It's got a short shelf life.
Yeah, right. I mean, right now, maybe even higher. I mean, the Hershey shit, my LLM will give me a good. We'll determine the Hershey
right.
and everything. Right nowadays, it's all predictive and it's pretty damn close. So,
and again, with quantum, you think you got it behind a password.
There's quantum.
It's gone.
It'll be blockchain. So there's no more IP, which to me means Shakespeare could be right. All the lawyers go away,
right?
Because they built up an empire of baloney based on narratives and made up shit. You're right. I mean, not that it's not real. I'm not saying that, and that we have to pay attention to, but it makes everyone a potential victim, not even a real victim.
Yeah, but what got us to this conversation was, what's it going to do to our industry? And it's going to make it contract because everybody's going to sit back on the fence and wonder what that is, right?
Well, of course, I have this. There's an internal motivation with me, and I know that Dan and Art are going to see this. What you're talking about is connected points, and we're up to our eyeballs right now in a talk about wild wild west environment that has no rule, no standard, no nothing. So this is going to come down on the robotics and the AMR and all that stuff too, because we're
Yep.
running into it right.
Because those are
That's
just endpoints, just like a copier, printer, scanner, just like anything
yeah.
else that
The
that
one thing that we have that's unique is they are autonomous. It's the
mhm,
first word in AMR,
mhm.
autonomous, and people don't really understand explicitly what that means right now, but they will. Autonomous means it doesn't have to be connected. It can
Yep.
run around on its own.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Right.
forget.
Right. And then as technology gets better and better, those nodes and endpoints are not just dumb nodes and dumb endpoints. They are individual and they can communicate with the interwebs whenever they want with a secure protocol. So
And
quote
that's the
unquote,
orchestration of
yeah.
those. Yep.
And then Dan, they can be self-orchestrating. So
Mhm.
that this whole conversation ends up moot. But that, I'm just extrapolating. Right now, end of July and by August, there's going to be people trying to print double-sided and with watermarks and aren't going to be able to do it.
Right.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and
And it'll-
the dealer service
Yep,
desk are going to go crazy.
they're going to go nuts.
well, if you've ever been on a secure site, you have what's called an 8-foot visibility. They actually shut their screens down and turn their paper over on their desk
oh,
and that's how then you can move 8 feet, and they say civilian on deck or not basically
Badge.
non-compliant. You're non-compliant, and then they give you permission to move another 8 feet or whatever their layout is. That's how you do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't just
wow.
walk into it. Yeah. So what's interesting is do you think these service techs are going to be able to go into these locations and fix machines? No,
Not without clearance, no.
No,
not even with
Because
clearance, because
yeah,
how are you going to clear them? Because it isn't even about them. It's about what are they doing. Okay, here's an example. We just did a demo where we just showed them we could walk up to a back of a machine, have a conversation, ask them how their little kid's doing in soccer, how's the weekend look, yada yada yada, and in 3 minutes we changed the hard drive in the machine and walk out. The only thing they saw was the machine went down on the network. It got disconnected from the cable, which they wouldn't know anyway because it was shut off. It's not reporting, right? But anything that happened after that event, they would have no way to have a chain of custody of the events to know what was going on. And what the person, because we all know that if you walk into a business and say copier guy, they just lay down for you. Okay. And you can just walk the halls, right?
well, they did it
Nobody's
in Soviet Union embassy. Xerox did that for years.
yeah.
They walked in, their techs walked into the embassy and did whatever they did. Then Stuxnet. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was an HP, sir. Well, anyway.
So,
But
so
so
question for
maybe
you,
I'm just
Felix.
thinking a little differently. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Felix. With all new machines that dealers would sell right now, it's kind of quasi with dealers, helping with print issues. Some dealers charge for that service on top of their maintenance agreement. Some included in their maintenance agreement, but now with the added uh, changes that are going to be here, I'm thinking maybe more dealers are going to maybe put a flat $200 a month on top of their maintenance agreements to actually work with the client and install that PSAs, to install their PSAs, or to also make sure they're on their manufacturers are on the Microsoft store.
Okay,
You
so
could package
does
it
that
as a security package, a security upgrade package. Your dealer could go in and do that, whatever that is, an extra
Yeah.
billable charge.
Yeah, they can monetize it with
Right.
support, right? It depends on the size of the client, the relationship. I think,
point.
and how self-sufficient the client might be as well, right? So yeah, it's funny, Kevin, when I had one of those 3-letter agencies that was a client of mine, and I had on-site in-house technicians that had TSSCI type clearance in
Yep.
order to work on any device. That was the only people that could touch those devices. I couldn't send anybody else in.
right?
And that'd probably be the only way to do this. Even when I went into one of those places, I was without clearance. Everything shut down the minute I got to the threshold, and I never realized that it was an 8 foot threshold. But when I would get to that point, all computers would turn off. People would put all their papers,
You
facing
saw that.
down. And then I was, yeah, oh yeah, I was all part of that. Um, quick story. I went one time into an agency to work on or to deal with a client that was having a real tough time with one of those wide format. It was the Bubble Jet 2436, long time ago.
Bubble tea.
And the I was just trying to understand what the problem was, and some sergeant took me over to the machine, and there was a map that was on the device and said, "Look, here's the problem." And before I could really look at what was going on,
Don't look at it.
some captain came over, ripped it out of his hands, and called that guy on the carpet like you wouldn't believe. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? You can't show him any of that."
It's just a map.
Well, no, because I think there was
Oh.
there was a military option that action that happened like a week later,
Shit.
coincidentally. But I think, to back to your question, Art, I think it really depends on the relationships and, what the customer really wants out of the service operation. I think in some instances, there may be a bit of a grace period where we'll do something at no charge for a client. And then there are others where, look, we'll do we'll help you push out, 10 of these. And then after that, it's going to be X number of bucks per hour to do the rest if you want us to handle it for you.
Yeah, and interesting. How about
Yeah.
enterprise accounts that have mixed fleets or
You're never
mixed
gonna get near it.
brands?
You'll never get near it.
I'm wondering
Yeah.
about the enterprise and the self-managing guys, because right? I mean, we're into it. We know this, but those guys are doing everything, an enterprise account that has their own MPS, their own fleet management, their own output management. I wonder if they're looking at this at all, right? Because they don't give a crap about the printers just as long as the toner works and the end users aren't complaining. But when does this happen? July 7th? Is that the day? July when it finally goes away?
Something like that.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens
And
July and August.
I
Now,
guess
I think you'll see most network people putting the printers on what's called a non-addressable subnet, so that
Yeah.
it's just a one way, and they won't be on their mainstream highway for data, other sharing, data
Oh.
storing. What I think is going to happen.
Oh,
the
okay.
the question then becomes is how many clients were really using their folders and their staplers and their 3-hole punches?
I'm gonna guess
And
it's
see if
by
they
And all
even
of a
miss it.
sudden
print
they
11 by
say,
17.
well, we can do without it.
So Art, this was not very long ago. We were in a big and we were in this big company, and we were selling them a new machine, yada yada. Anyway, I walk into this office, and there's literally this massive HP color printer sitting next to a color copier, right? And
Right.
I'm waiting to get to talk to these people. I'm noticing the colors coming out on the HP, and the color machine's just sitting there, right?
Mhm.
So we get done. We're in the meeting, and I said, okay, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. You got two printers out there. You got this great big copier, color copier, and this big color printer. And he goes, no, the copier is black and white. Okay. And so, come to find out, after I didn't want to at that moment be the one to say no,
You're wrong.
you're wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was they had an IT person that installed the mono drivers, and they never installed color. So they bought a color printer because they didn't know it, even though I went and showed them that there's 4 colors in this machine, and it never comprehended that if you see the 4 colors, that means if you can see it, you can do it. That whole thing.
Right.
It never registered. So I think what the problem with the conversation we're having right here is we're giving the end user too much credit to be able to do
Absolutely. I think
any
you're
of
right,
what we're
Kevin.
talking about.
Absolutely. Yes. There are people
This
still
kind of-
buying toner cartridges for Oki Data color, whatever the hells there are out there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
Does
we got
this
a
give
couple
a
Or is it,
feel of
I was just curious,
Excuse
does
me,
that
the-
present an opportunity for the dealerships for that field engineer or that what we talked about earlier today, a field development engineer that it seems like if someone's going to install a PSA or do those types of things, they might not have the skills to do those types of things. That maybe that's a service that you could offer perhaps that maybe you don't offer today.
Oh no,
I
no,
don't
no.
know.
I think that's right. We talked about it. It's a possibility. It happens all the time whenever change comes down. It's, does your service and support contract include this? there's your question that you can answer.
Or
We're
when
going to
somebody
deploy
calls in
for
a panic because they can't print, who do
well,
they call, right?
that'll end
And
up being just going through the support desk. That's why I'm really,
right,
really curious to hear what happens with July and August, because that'll just come in as it doesn't work.
Right.
right,
That's going to be
right.
it's
Yeah.
like, what the hell happened? They'll deploy a
Yeah.
service tech. Now, he
And
might know.
Yeah.
and do you
July
think
and
that
August are going to be the worst for service operations. They're going to get a ton of service calls, people saying, "Why isn't this working? My machine's broken." There's going to be a lot of panic. It almost reminds me of Y2K.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say that.
Right.
All the buildup.
but how many of you
So
think that the dealers will have enough awareness of anything that's even going on,
I
or
don't
will they
know.
just blindly go take a bite of the apple?
Probably that. Art, what's your dealership doing? I mean, do they know about it, Art, or not?
So technically, we haven't been notified of anything. I would say that would be a good thought to get out to the sales reps first, talk to their clients, or get a document out to all of their clients explaining what is going to happen and what might happen. I'm thinking for the larger enterprise accounts, there may not be any issues, but for the SMBs and the mid-size accounts, who
95% of the
especially
economy.
do,
Yeah.
they're using their folding machine that's embedded on the copier. They're using their three-hole punch or their stapler.
Or
They're
the
all of a
churches.
sudden gonna go, what's going on.
I think that
So
the
I said,
dealers that have, I'm sorry, Art, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I was done.
I was gonna say, I think the dealers that have strong system engineers and savvy sales reps that are well in tune with the market, those are the ones that are going to be better prepared. I think your average dealer, to your point, Kevin, is not going to be ready for this because they're oblivious to it. I think,
Yeah,
and that's
and
a
it,
very general statement, but
Yeah.
and the problem is you have to articulate this to a point where you can get to some sort of an action step. Okay,
Right.
and everything we do in business has got to be provable. And if they can't even discuss it, then they're not going to look really.
Well,
I
it's
think
nice to go to your windows on your machine, as I know Kay Neal has done, and say, look, right there, in your warning right there, showing that it is going to change, that you have to go and do this. So it is not a figment of your imagination.
I,
Right.
I think one device that's not going to be affected are wide format machines. No duplexing, no stapling, no hole
Oh, no,
punch.
that's right.
Aren't they
What are
mostly
the
just
options?
ASCII? That's still around?
ASCII.
So there's a couple other news things. I just want to go over it before we end up closing the show. S&P gave Xerox a credit boost,
Ooh.
right? I
Kevin
mean, I
Fry is
guess
the
Kevin
yeah.
Fry's been on top of this, and
He had his crystal ball all polished
mhm,
months ago.
I'm
mhm.
telling you.
I know. I was
My
listening
mom
to.
was an investment banker. I'm telling you, I grew up with this stuff every day.
So
I
that
believed you like 72 hours after you said it, because like I went out and looked. Oh, and then a week later there was. What I like is there's true believers on board at X. There are true believers in the trenches, and what I could tell at mid management and upper management, they think they can do this. That
Yes, but
means a lot.
and based off what I told you, I didn't give you a feeling. I gave you a reason.
Right.
Okay, and that should be the reason why. I mean,
And
I'm
what
going to
are they
write
at,
it.
Art? What, $3 or $2 still?
I haven't looked at it.
All right, but whatever it is, let's say it's $3. Bucks. If they attempt, it'll go up. If they succeed, it'll be like IBM back in the day, and it'll be a good thing. They could get to like 15, 20 and just stay there.
Mhm.
Right? Or even, that's fine. I mean, look at all the ones that last. I don't know who that's, but they just stay there. They don't go up, they don't go down, they stay there, and they give you dividends, and they're around for 100 years.
And,
Could
and when
happen.
I told you to buy it, what was the example I gave you?
It was, I don't remember.
Apple.
Apple.
Yeah,
Not familiar with them.
yeah,
Wait a
they're a little company, but they start with an A, so most people never
I
get
think
past them.
they're
They
a
just
company of fruit or something.
Three,
and they
three.
were 97 cents, and everybody said they were going to go bankrupt, and
Oh,
I went
my
all in on
God.
them. I went all in on them.
What
It's
are they
down
at,
to
Art?
it's down to 302 today.
That's not
Uh,
down.
when,
When we started, Kevin, what was it,
well,
Kevin? Just below
when,
$2?
when we first
Yeah.
started
No, it's
talking about it,
$100.
it was 250. So in the
I
last,
bought it at $1.08, I think.
in the
$1.28 was what I think I heard.
Yeah,
$1.28.
$1.28, something
so
like that.
I
I know
went
there was an
back,
8 in there.
I
Yeah.
went back 1 month. So as of April,
Yeah.
right, it was
Mhm.
dollar. The lowest it hit actually April 10th for $1.22.
Yeah, I
it's
think
more-
I
it-
think I might have been
So
at
it's
dollar
double.
8 sounds right. $1.20, that sounds right.
so the last one, two,
Don't
3
count your
months,
money when you're still at the table.
you've had a
No.
16% increase.
Oh, I thought it was okay. Well, 16% in 6 months. Yeah, don't count your money. But look, imagine if it get to 18, which is still, but
Look at it this way. Do you think billionaires are okay with the idea of selling their stock at $3? No.
no.
No. I'm just riding on their actions. I don't need to even care about the rest of it. I just need to know that they're not going to.
Good
It's
point,
not good for
Kevin.
them.
Has anyone dipped in? Anyone big gone to Xerox yet or not? I don't think so.
Well, we haven't seen any fund managers grabbing it
Right.
yet, but you
Right.
just hang
No.
loose.
There was that company we spoke about last week that made quite a big investment
Oh,
in
the
the
Polish
Xerox.
company.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Ste-
Oh, yeah.
Steepo or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
but
right.
It
You're
didn't
right.
impact their price though. They're just
No.
they're like you, Kevin. They're in for the ride.
Yeah, they're
Which-
just coming in for the ride. Yeah.
That's fine.
So one more piece of news. You guys familiar with the Kyocera Task Alpha, the big production machine?
The inkjet.
Inkjet, yep, color.
Yep.
So dig this. I think that machine prints at 170 pages a minute or something.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, they just released a monochrome version of that. Wouldn't you just change the software and turn the freaking color off and just let it
Wanna-
print black?
Wouldn't you
Maybe
think?
that's what they did.
But
Maybe.
is the room for the color cartridges still?
I haven't seen it. And I have no clue. All I know is they came out with a new model, and basically it's not going to do color. It's just going to do black.
Maybe they just put black toners in all four. Wouldn't that
Well,
be something?
no, that very well could be
That would be
the
something.
case. You've heard of that being done with I think Ricoh had their 4 color printers, and then somebody was able to do put generic white toner in it, and they were able to actually print white. And then how it would make black, it would mix the cyan, magenta, and the yellow to make black.
Yeah, black is all.
I think
colors,
that was
white is
called the
no color.
process black.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's process black. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they did.
Well, that's interesting, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. But the whole Marco KB thing still going on, right? They'll contract the Konica Minolta's pulling contracts from the independent dealers and all that.
Is that really happening? I mean, does anybody really know?
Yeah, I think it is. but-
Well, there was somebody on our buddy's show talking about it, I think yesterday.
oh, really? On
Yes.
Ray's show? So there was
Yes.
a Konica Minolta dealer? I'd like to
Yes.
hear that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did not tune into it.
Okay.
I was too busy selling copy machines.
Got to make
Well, that's-
money.
That's an interesting. I mean, I'll have to check into that Ray thing, but that's if it's probably true. It really is, because that would make sense. Konica Minolta's been in dire straits, so they have to do something. Marco, not dire straits, but they're looking for something else. It kind of makes strategic sense. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but it makes sense. But that opens up a lot of holes for Kyocera's and Caton, because
I would say so. If a lot of dealers may look to jump ship.
yeah, the guy you're talking about was from Texas, right? The Konica Minolta dealer in Texas, I think it was, and he was pretty upset, or I don't want to put words in his mouth. There was some banter or conversation around Konica Minolta holding service certificates for the Konica their deal.
So what triggered all this as far as anybody making it public? I mean, does somebody have a smoking gun? Does anybody have a receipt saying, hey, we have proof of this happening? I mean, I know it's being sensationalized a lot.
It is
As being marketed as being something, but I'm looking around going, I don't see any smoke on the horizon.
I think that interview that Art's referring to may be the smoking gun, because I haven't seen it yet, Art. So, and I don't want to put words in their mouths, but Konica Minolta, Texas, was upset with what happened. So I don't know if he said the contract was null and void, whatever. I don't believe anything. I believe like 10% of what Ray says, but that's enough. And I think we talked about it before. But is anyone? I mean, Konica Minolta was not a tier 1 supplier. I love the people over there, but they weren't Xerox, HP, Canon, or Ricoh.
Correct.
So
Yeah, I just don't see, it just doesn't add up to me. I'm not feeling why would Marco go out on this limb for Konica Minolta when they don't have to do anything? They're going to get it anyway. I mean, Konica Minolta is already circling the drain in many ways.
right,
You know,
right.
I mean, I don't understand why I don't see the gain for Marco to do it this way.
The last,
Well,
I know you're about out of time here, guys. The last little tidbit I thought was interesting happened yesterday. Did you see Midjourney? Did you all see that happen with
absolutely.
their piece
No.
of hardware? And
Holy
that's
moly.
going to revolutionize the way that imaging and medicine is delivered. And 50 of those things could take the place of all the PET scan, MRI machines in the world. The implications of what, and that's a 200-person team that never took money to do their company. It's
Yep.
a total bootstrap. And so Midjourney, it launched yesterday with their hardware spa, I think is what it's called. And I think it's immersion in water that can basically look inside. It's the Star Trek, what you thought of being able to look inside your body to see exactly what's going on so that you can fix it.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, it was
I'm
a
glad you
huge.
brought it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to think of that earlier. Yep.
Yeah, it is a big, big, big deal. Right. 200 people, right? I mean, this is the
Right.
model that's coming down the pike. It didn't
Yeah,
take
it's
your
not huge mammoth companies. It's
right. It's not
lean.
your $3
Uh,
billion pharmaceutical company didn't come up with this. Your guys who
right.
are gaming at night came up with this.
Right.
Speaking of
Uh-huh.
gaming and along the same lines, have you seen the Codex Unreal connection? Brand
No.
new yesterday. So you guys, so Unreal is a graphics image engine, right? And it comes out of
Okay.
gaming. If you've watched any of the Star Wars on Disney, I think the Mandalorian, if you
Hmm.
look at it and you see him walking in a desert, it's not a real desert. There's a Mandalorian. There's a Unreal graphic engine projecting on a
Yeah.
screen around him, but it's smart enough to know when the character walks this way that the landscape should change based on where the character is.
It's
It's crazy
unbelievable.
shit. But what they did just I think over the weekend is someone connected Codex to this engine and actually from text to imaging. And it is not text to flat imaging. It is text to 3D. The guy was typing and all of a sudden on the other here's the Codex. Codex is like a programming thing, Majigger.
Hmm.
You write in commands and then on
Hmm.
the video screen what he wrote it to do, it did in 3D. So like he was doing it very simple interior design from nowhere, and boom, here comes the couch, here comes the walls, but it did it in real time. This is big because you can generate your graphic image that looks great by just typing in what you want, right? I mean, if we were that's a big thing because like one of my things is we will be able to create our own movies ad hoc. Netflix,
Sooner than you think.
like that.
Yep,
Yes.
totally agree.
It's so the Midjourney. I'm glad you brought up the Midjourney
Yeah.
thing is incredible
Yeah.
because Midjourney. I haven't heard from Midjourney since the early days, which what a couple
Hmm.
years ago, and all of a sudden they came out with that. It's like, holy crap, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then another
Changer.
guy is doing the Codex to Unreal, which by the way, this is all because of gamers.
Yep. For sure.
Nvidia is around because they did a gaming GPU. It's
And
all
I
the
did
gamers
use
of it.
the Grok, the X.AI API this past week, just playing around with images of my dog at the beach and gave it that same text kind of thing via API with Grok build. And it produced a nice 30-second piece of her chasing along the Devar Beach pier and chasing the birds. And uh, all the lighting was
Right.
pretty
It
Interesting.
never
phenomenal.
happened, but you saw it.
Right.
But if you saw it, did it never happen?
It
So
sure looks real.
what company did Netflix end up killing? The demise when Netflix came out?
Oh, the
Buster.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. See,
Yeah.
that's interesting because Netflix actually is building the biggest studio on the East Coast, about 10 miles from where I live.
For now.
What's interesting is that Blockbuster could have bought them for $60 million and didn't do it because it didn't
Right.
look familiar.
Yep.
And everything you're discussing now is making humans not think about what's familiar, but more about what's possible.
Absolutely.
What's possible?
Yep.
Interesting. Which
Yep.
leads me to
Yeah.
the end of our show today.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's 5 after 5. I want to thank Kevin Fry for being on, Dan Western, Felix Villanueva. Did I get that right?
You got it
Okay.
right.
New
Awesome.
Village.
And
That's it.
we'll see you next week at 4 p.m. That is I guess that'll be our pre-4th of July show.
Ooh, big fourth. Wait,
Yeah, it'll be the third,
Fourth.
right?
So 2 weeks.
weekend of.
2 weeks.
Yeah, the weekend of
2 weeks.
yeah.
2
2
weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And we'll be having our show. And God knows what number show this is. I know we're well into the 120s. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please like, follow, and share. Oh, and also, if you have anything you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email.
Yep.